Hi friends, and welcome to the FibreBound podcast. My name is Ali and I'm coming to you from Adelaide, Australia, and this is a podcast where I share about my knitting. It has been a few months since I've sat down and properly talked to you. I have shared a few vlogs with you over recent months, but I haven't actually sat down and showed all of the things that I've been making sequentially. And I can't show you everything today because some things have been gifted, but I would like to go through some of the items that I've finished in the recent months and the things that I am working on. I have some really exciting projects on my needles right now and have finished some really exciting projects as well. So I'm really looking forward to sharing those with you. If this is your first time joining me today, welcome. It is so lovely to have you here. There have been quite a few new subscribers over recent days, and I think I can attribute that to the lovely Alicia from Lovely Day Knits podcast. She had a really wonderful episode released last week, I think it was last week, which showcased Australian podcasters, and she generously included me in that amazing list of beautiful makers from around Australia. So thank you so much, Alicia, for doing that. I love Alicia's podcast. If you have not checked her out, I highly recommend you go over and check out her amazing podcast. She is quite a new knitter, but she is extremely obsessed with all things knitting, and she is tackling some amazing projects. And she has this really beautiful aesthetic. I really enjoy watching her videos and her energy as well. Her energy is just infectious. It's really wonderful to watch her videos and her vlogs. I will link her channel down in the description below, and I will also link anything else that I'm talking about today. But so yes, on a tangent already, this is what happens on this podcast. Welcome to the new subscribers. It is so lovely to have you here, and thank you so much for checking out this channel. And welcome also to anyone new who's just stumbled upon this episode. It is so lovely to have you here as well. And welcome back to all of my wonderful subscribers who have been here before, who I've chatted in the comments, some of whom I've had the pleasure of meeting, and it's just been an amazing ride to be able to share what I love with this community and then actually be able to make friendships out of that process. So yes, I think that's all the admin and the intro out of the way. Let's get into the knitting because I've already been talking for some time. My timer's not working on my screen. So because I have quite a few projects to share with you, I recommend you get yourself a beverage. I'm recording this over my lunch break today. So I've just made myself a quick coffee to keep me going because as soon as I finish, I've got to get back to work. So I guess the best thing to show you first is what I'm actually wearing. And I have worn this before. I wore this to Bendigo. I've been wearing this non-stop since it came off my needles. And it is the Salty Days sweater by Veronika or Veronika Lindberg. Amazing, amazing pattern, amazing design, amazing finished object. I absolutely adore this sweater. So I knit the size, I think I talked about this in my last episode, and I was, I think, on the final sleeve in that last episode, but there were details that I had probably not remembered correctly. So I might just reiterate a few of those details just to not make this too boring if you watch the last one. But essentially, I knit this using 2 strands of yarn. I used an 8-ply, traffic's really loud. I wonder if the microphone's picking that up. I knit this up using an 8-ply bamboo merino blend from Bendigo Woolen Mills. I might pop the details on the screen because I can't remember the exact blend. But I used a Bendigo Woolen Mills 8-ply from their back room, and I held it together with Sandes Garn Coast yarn, which is a cotton lamb's wool, I think, blend. And I started this project in September last year as part of the Salty Days Cal, which was hosted by the lovely Hayley of Hayley Space and Morgan from Morgan Unravelled podcasts. And I'm so glad that I did cast it on. I'm just surprised that it took me so long to bind it off, given that I really enjoyed this knit. It makes me wonder if it took me a long time to finish it because I was enjoying it and I didn't want to rush the process. But more likely, I just got distracted along the way, which happens a lot here, you will see. So I started this on the 11th of September last year, and I finished it on the 9th of June this year. So it was actually on the needles for a total of 271 days, which is ridiculous. I'm so shocked that it took me so long to finish it. But again, lots of distractions along the way. But I love this sweater so much. Oh, I think my son's home from school. I love this sweater so much. It has just brought me so much joy to knit. The various sections throughout the pattern are so engaging because you just want to get to the next section. So it really does feel like it's knitting itself a lot of the time. And being able to wear this has just been amazing. Now it is winter here and I had imagined this to be more of a lightweight. It's not very lightweight. It is a 10 ply or an Aran gauge. But it is made with cotton and bamboo as the predominant fibres in this sweater. So I kind of imagined it being a great transitional piece, spring, autumn, that kind of time. But I've been wearing it so much over winter. I'm just pairing it with a top underneath, which is probably poking out outside the collar. But I'm just wearing a top underneath and it keeps me super cozy, and I'm actually really hot in here right now. Really would like to take it off, but I'm really enjoying wearing it and I wanted to show you it on my body as well. Obviously it's a bit hard to stand up and not knock things over, so I might pop some B-roll up of me wearing this and how it fits me, so you can see the full effect of this amazing garment. Now I ended up knitting the second size that was in the pattern, and I did meet gauge and I used my Knit Picks wooden interchangeable, I think Sunstruck set, and that met gauge really nicely. The yarn behaved really beautifully on those needles. I did gauge swatch on my Chalgoos, which I normally knit with, but I just wasn't really happy with the fabric on those needles. So I tried the Knit Picks wooden needles and they were perfect for this yarn combination. It's unusual for me to meet gauge. I tend to be a bit of a looser knitter, but my son just came home from school. He's such a sweetheart. But I have a very squeaky door that I may not be able to edit out completely. Apologies. He is currently in year 12, his final year of high school. So he has a short day on a Wednesday. He has a few free periods in the afternoon, so he comes home early around lunchtime, which surprises me every time I work from home on a Wednesday. I'm always so shocked when he turns up. I just guess I'm still not used to that. Anyway, back to the sweater. Not quite sure what I was saying, but I love it. Absolutely adore it. It is such a fun project, and I think I've said that umpteenth times now, but I think that's right. Size 2 for the body, recommended needle size. Did not make any adjustments for the body except for shortening the hem a little bit. I don't think I did the full number of rounds that the pattern suggested on the very bottom hem, but the sleeves I did make an adjustment to. So in this pattern there are actually 2 sleeve circumferences. There's the extra small to medium, I think, size, and then the large to the biggest size. They're split up into 2 different sizes. And I was hearing a lot of people who were making this during the knit along saying that they weren't happy with the tightness of their sleeve. So I thought I would just preempt that, and I ended up choosing to knit the larger size. So probably this side might be easier to see. So I knit the largest size. I picked up the stitches here because it is a drop shoulder design for the largest size. And I also adjusted my decreases moving down the sleeve as well. I didn't do quite as many decreases, so it tends to balloon down a little bit more than maybe the pattern was intended, but I do really love it. Now, just looking at my sleeve, I'm noticing a couple of stains. I have been wearing this so much, and it actually is due to be washed. So if you're seeing some imperfections, it's actual real life here right now, and I'm just accepting that I didn't get a chance to wash it before recording for you today. Highly recommend this pattern. I imagine that I may knit more of these in my future because it was such a fun knit. Now, I briefly touched on the drop shoulder construction, and I think the only other thing to mention here is that it has a folded over neckband. So you knit the neckband, double the height, and then you fold it over, and you can either whip stitch it together, which is what I ended up doing, I think, or you can knit them together. I can't remember what I did now. I think I whip stitched them together. It was a little while ago now. I was working on this before Christmas last year, then into the new year, then obviously mid-year this year. So it's been a long-term work in progress, but so very worth it. So this is finished object number 1, and I am ecstatic with how this turned out. Now, if it takes me 10 minutes to talk about every project, we're going to be here for days. So I'm going to try to be a little bit more succinct. Let's talk about my next finished object. There is a whole vlog about me making this. So let's pop it on and I will very quickly talk about this one because it was also a really fun knit. So my next finished object is the Stockholm Slipover V-neck by PetiteKnit. And oh my gosh, was this an amazing knit. Absolutely loved this. This was such a fun project. There were some new techniques for me, which I really enjoyed, and new yarn and an amazing finished object. So I did record a whole vlog on knitting this, and I will pop the link down below for that one too if you wanted to see the sort of process that I went through to make this amazing garment. Now I don't know if it looks okay over this blush sort of pale pink top, but we're just going to go with it for now. I don't really want to change my undergarments, but this is such an amazing piece. I have never knit a V-neck construction garment before, so I really enjoyed the process of figuring that part out and enjoy the fit of this V-neck as well. I've been wearing this to work quite a lot, and it's just such a comfortable, cozy piece to put over a top or a shirt to wear to the office, as well as wearing it out and about. So it's a really versatile piece. I think I will be making more vests in my future because this has been wonderful to knit, very quick project, 40 plus hours, but very quick project in terms of on and off the needles. And this yarn combination is magic. So I started this project on the 22nd of June and bound it off on the 13th of July. It was on the needles for a total of 21 days, which is amazing. Almost 300 days, 21 days. I was very focused in knitting this particular garment, and it was just such a joy. Now I knit this in some yarn that was gifted to me by Veronika of Yarniecopia. This is the Biches and Bouches Petite Lamb's wool held with their silk mohair base, and I think it was in the colorway red brown. And oh my gosh, such a wonderful yarn to knit up, such a wonderful drape of the finished object. Like, this is just really lovely to wear, and I love the fit. I knit the 3rd size, which is the medium, and I'm really happy with how this worked out. I'm pretty sure I got gauge in the end, and it fits me exactly how I wanted it to. I did make a couple of adjustments in terms of the pickup rates along the armholes. I think that's the only change that I made to this pattern. Being a petite knit pattern, it is extremely intuitive, so there were a few points where I wasn't quite sure in terms of like the pickup, where to start picking up certain stitches along the shoulders. The way that it's constructed, you knit the back panel first, and then you pick up the left front or the right front. I can't remember which one was first, and then you pick up the other side. The way I'm showing it is as if it's right and then left, but it could be left and then right. I can't remember. And you end up joining at the V, and then joining at the underarms, and you knit in the round on the way down. So very simple construction, very enjoyable way to knit because it keeps you interested. I think I talked in the vlog about getting a bit stuck on Body Island. When it's round and round in stockinette and there's nothing to really engage me, I tend to lose traction a little bit. So there wasn't much of that here, so it still was finished in a really quick amount of time. But if you want any other details, I would encourage you to watch that vlog because I do show you step by step how I worked through this and talk about my experience along the way as well. This is the Stockholm Slipover V-neck by PetiteKnit, finished object number 2. So I've changed back into my Salty Day sweater because I love it. And I thought it deserves a real limelight moment here, a real spotlight moment. So we're just going to finish off the rest of the episode in this amazing garment. Have a sip of coffee. Let's talk about my next finished object, which is on my lap, and it's huge. And it's going to be awkward to show, so I'll probably put some B-roll footage up. This is a blanket I started and finished in the last couple of months. Actually, it didn't take me that long to knit it at all. This is the Super Stocking Stitch Blanket by Yarnspirations Design Studio. I was walking through my local Spotlight a few months ago and I was thinking, I really want to update the blanket on my bed. I had this grey blanket that I knit up when I first started knitting, but I bought not enough yarn to make it the right length. So it had always bugged me that it wasn't quite right. And over the years it had started pilling and it wasn't looking very fresh. And I just wanted something new. And I was walking through Spotlight and I found some chunky yarn. I don't have any of this yarn left, but I did keep the labels. So it was the Big Twist Plus Jumbo and it's in the colourway Cardamom. And I believe this is Joanne's stock. So Joanne's in the States closed a few months ago and it seems that we acquired some of their amazing yarn. So this was available in limited numbers and I bought 6 balls of this, even though the back of the tag states that for a blanket I only needed 2 balls. Maybe for a tiny baby blanket. Luckily, I bumped into a lovely person in the store who was also buying up a bunch of this yarn. She was buying it in multiple colours and she was crocheting a blanket. She was crocheting a blanket with it and she came in to get some more because she had run out of the colours that she needed. And when I had, I think, 4 in my hand, she goes, just grab 6. I think 6 is a better number. So I did, and I'm glad I did because I ended up with this beautiful plush blanket, which I knit on 25mm needles, which, what is that in the US sizing? US 50 needle, 25mm. I had these needles from when I knit my original grey blanket, so they were in my stash already, but I bought 6 skeins of this and I knit this up. I started it on July the 6th and I finished it July 23rd. And the only reason it took that long was because I was away for a few days there and I wanted to finish some other things. All up, this blanket was on my needles for 17 days, but I probably only worked on it for maybe 6. I think I averaged about a ball a night because it was a very low yardage. This yarn had 33 meters or 36 yards to 300 grams. So a ball of yarn went pretty quickly and it was basically an evening of knitting. The problem that I found working on such large needles is that I'm normally a continental knitter and I could not knit this in a continental style because the yarn was so chunky I could not tension it around my fingers and knit it comfortably. It was hurting my hands. So I ended up English throwing throughout this project. And that worked really well. The recommended needle size for this was actually a 12.5mm, so then it would have been a lot more of a dense fabric. But I was really interested in it being quite an open gauge, so I'm really quite happy with how that worked out. Now I'm gonna have to take this off my lap because I'm getting super hot. But I do have some B-roll footage because I was pretty sure that I wouldn't even bother taking this off my bed to show you, but I did want to show you. So I'll pop some footage here of the blocking process. I had to block this in my bathtub because it was so large, and I blocked it by soaking it in wool wash and I let it soak for maybe an hour because it's so big, and then try to squeeze out as much water out of it as possible. And then I had a look online to see if people, because this does say it's machine washable, the label, but I don't love to machine wash my knits. But I did Google to see if people were hand washing or machine washing blankets made out of this yarn. And I found a couple of videos where people had popped them in the washing machine. And even though I didn't wash it in the washing machine, and I soaked it in the bathtub, I did pop it in the machine to give it a bit of a spin to get out some of that excess liquid because it was heavy and it was so full of water. These fibres just soaked it up and it just completely, it was kilos and kilos of yarn here. Even though this is what, 300 times 6, 3 sixes are 18. It's under 2 kilos in weight, but with all the water in it, it was super heavy. And I thought this is never going to dry. So I popped it in my machine, I put it on the spin cycle for a little bit, and then laid it out to dry on my blocking mats in my lounge room. And I think it took 2 days to dry. It really didn't take that long, and it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Occasionally an end will pop out. I'll see if I can find one to show you. Occasionally an end will pop out because it's polyester. But all I do is I pop it back in there. It's fine. It is absolutely not a problem. It is basically just a decorative piece for my bed, but I do actually use it on my side of the bed at night during the winter months for a bit of extra layer. I like the weighted feeling of it, and it's quite lovely. A very quick knit in reality, and very satisfying. As a knitter, I don't like the idea of spending money on a knitted blanket, but I love knitted blankets. But knitted blankets take a long time to knit. This was a nice compromise. Found a bigger yarn, knitted up pretty quickly, and it's amazing. It's functional, and I love this colour. Absolutely love the way this colour looks. Now I have a couple of finished objects that I wanted to talk to you about really quickly because again they were featured in a vlog, and these were featured in my Bendigo vlog, but they haven't been on the podcast episodes. I thought I'd include them here for continuity, just so that they're all in an episode, but realistically the details are all in that Bendigo vlog. And these are my Bendigo mitts and my Bendigo hat, both patterns by Kath Martin Designs, and both designed for the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show. So if you want some more details about these, again, they're talked about in great detail on the vlog, which I will again link below. But these were another couple of finished objects that I completed over the last few months. Now both of these patterns have a lovely little cable design on them that is iconic of this set, and Kath's just done an amazing job with this set. They were so fun to knit, so lovely. Totally inspired with my colour choices here by my friend Gayanne, which I may not have referenced in the Bendigo vlog, but hers were a really similar colour palette, so when I saw this yarn, they had to be the mitts. Yeah, so they were really fun. So just a quick nod to those couple of finished objects. Let's talk about some socks I finished recently. I used to knit a pair of socks every month, consistently. And this year I've been very much into the garments, and my sock knitting hasn't been quite as prolific as it had been in previous years. But I did pick up this lovely unfinished object a few months ago and decided to finish this pair of socks that had been on my needles since March of 2023. I am trying to work through some of my old whips, but I really do find it's so easy to cast on something new and forget about the old ones. Not forget about, but slightly abandon temporarily. So I knit these Seaborn socks and finished both of them in the last couple of months. These were started on the 25th of March 2023, and I finished them on the 16th of May 2025 for a total of 783 days on my needles. Ridiculous. I finished the first sock as part of a test knit. This one may have been the first, I don't remember. But I finished the first sock as part of a test knit, and the requirement for the test knit was to knit one sock, and I just never got to that second one because the cast on was a tubular cast on and there was some lace work, and it wasn't a mindless sock cast on for me, so I just had never prioritized casting it on, and that was the block for me. But once I cast on the second one, it just flew off my needles, and I think that they turned out stunningly. I am so happy with them. So this is a design by Hanna of Herbgarden Knitwear, and I knit this in some yarn again by Monica of Ashen Oak Yarns from Old Stash, and I'm pretty sure this colour was called Peachy Keen. No, it's called Feeling Peachy, and I just use a drops Fabel or Fable or Fabel. If you know how it's pronounced, please let me know. Cream for the contrast there. And this pattern was really fun because it talked you through how to do a jogless stripe. And I mean, I can see where the join is, but I think that if you wouldn't know, you probably don't see it. And it definitely isn't a jog. There's just a bit of a slightly different tension in a specific spot there. So it's a really interesting technique. It was really fun to knit. And yeah, I'm glad to have these off the needles. Finally, that was ridiculous in terms of how long they were on the needles. I didn't talk about sock needle size. For these ones, I used a 2.75 millimeter needle. Usually for my socks, I would use a 2.25 or a 2 millimeter, but this had a different stitch count to my normal sized sock patterns. So yeah, 2.75 worked for the gauge of this particular pattern. So yeah, they fit me really well. I knit the smallest size. Yeah, I don't think, there's probably other things I could say about it, but I can't think of what else to say right now. So let's move on to the next finished object. The next finished object is another pair of socks. And these are quite different to the other pair that I just showed. They're huge. So these I've lovingly termed our anniversary socks. I knit these for my husband for our 25th wedding anniversary. He loves a long leg, apparently. And so I knit the size large for him here in the DK weight sock, and I held 2 strands of yarn together. And I do have the leftovers. So a couple of years ago, we stumbled upon a little haberdashery store where they had some sock yarn. And my husband picked out this colourway of opal. It is the colourway, it's a number of course, 11245 in this opal sock yarn. And it is very super bright. It's a fingering weight 4-ply yarn. I think it's a 75-25 base. Yes, it is. And the yardage on this, 425 meters per 100 grams. So he picked this out, but this was before he decided that he really loved DK weight socks. A little while after this was purchased, we were away somewhere and I found this jigsaw yarn, jigsaw 4-ply. This is the colorway SO10. Very informative. It's basically a brown. And again, it's a 4-ply sock yarn, 75-25, again, 420 meters per 100 grams. And I decided to hold them together to create a DK weight gauge. And we ended up with these socks. And I actually think they turned out fabulous. I was worried when I first started them that they might be a little muddy and it might not really show up any of the colors, that it might look a little bit blur. It's a great descriptive word. But I'm actually really happy with how they turned out. Now I did do a bit of a contrasting start, and I just used 2 strands of the brown in the cuff there. I did a 2x2 cuff, and I can't remember how many rounds, but I usually do around 14 rounds for a DK weight sock. And then I did a super long leg for him. I think that was around 50 or 60 rounds for the leg. I have all of the details in my Ravelry project page, which I'll link down below. And then I did a heel flap and gusset, and then the foot to his preferred length and a rounded toe, holding the 2 strands together. So there's not much else to say about this except that he loves them. He loves that they're super long, and he'll be very excited that after a couple of months, because our anniversary was at the start of July, he'll finally be able to wear them now that I've shown them here. This happens a little bit where I will knit something, give it to my family member, and then take it back so I can show you on the podcast. So I really should be better at recording more regularly. Now I started these socks on the 11th of June this year, and they were finished on the 4th of July, just in time for our weekend away to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary. And they were on the needles for a total of 23 days, which is not too bad. They are a big pair of socks. I have 2 more finished objects to share with you. This is ridiculously long. I may not get to my whips. Well, I will, but I might have to speed through them a bit. So my last finished object that I have with me today is the Musselburgh hat that I finished for my son's 21st birthday just this past weekend. So I think I finished these on Sunday. His birthday will be this coming Sunday on the 24th of August. And I love how this one turned out. Now, if you're familiar with the Musselburgh, it is actually a big long tube that is stuffed one end inside the other. So it's a double thick hat. And my son absolutely loves the one that I knit him last year. I thought I would make him another one for his birthday. I showed this during my Bendigo vlog, and I think I had been about at this point here, thereabouts. And so I finished the rest of the first ball of yarn, and then I actually went to Yarn Trader, my local yarn store, and my friend Marina helped me pick out something that would go with this yarn to finish it off. I had originally thought that I would just use some leftovers to finish it off, because 100 grams of DK weight yarn is not enough to knit one of these hats. You do actually need more. And I ended up using just over 150 grams in total. So it was a 100 gram ball here and a 50 gram ball there. Slightly different gauge on this one, I've noticed, but it doesn't seem to be impacting the hat. This main colour is by the Woolly Goose. It is 100% Australian Merino, 180 metres per 100 grams. So it's quite a thick 8-ply or DK. I would actually almost call it says it's 8-ply yarn. It's in the colourway Vikings, by the way. I would call this more of a worsted with that yardage, but it's marketed as an 8-ply, so I only bought the one ball. Should have grabbed two, to be honest. To try to match the gauge a little bit on this one, this is the contrast colour that I found. So this is the Pepin 10-ply, which is 82 metres per 50 grams, and it is also 100% merino, I believe. Yep, it's 100% Australian superwash merino. So these are the two yarns I used. I basically used both full balls in this hat, and it is going to fit him perfectly. I've got no leftovers, which is lovely. And what we do is we pop one end inside the other end. He can wear this reversible if he wishes, so he can wear it with the teal side out or with this darker side out. I imagine he's probably going to prefer the darker side, but he could surprise me. And he can wear it slouchy, which I don't know that I really can pull off a slouchy look, but he can wear it like this. Or how I imagine he will wear it, because how he wears his other one from last year is more like this. And that should fit him perfectly. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. I hope he loves it now that I've messed my hair up. I think the only other thing to say is that I knit this on a 3.25mm needle. I think I used my Addy 3.25 for this. I followed the pattern. My gauge is always pretty loose, and obviously this is quite a thick yarn, so I knit the adult small, aiming for an adult medium to large, and I obtained that. So yeah, really good, really happy. And now my final finished object is something that I don't have with me today. It has been gifted, and I have a vlog that I will be editing over the coming weeks and publishing to show you the process of knitting this particular item. I decided to knit my niece a Felix cardigan for an event she had last week. And I knit it in this yarn here, the Cozy Wool from Lincraft, in the colourway Pastel Lilac. I knit the extra small size. I will pop some images or some video footage on the screen because obviously I can't show you the item. But here's the gauge swatch. And I did get gauge on the recommended needle size for this one, but I decided that because she's 10, the smallest size might give her too much positive ease. So I decided to size my needles down to try to shrink it down a little bit. And it worked really well. It fit her perfectly. But I guess I just wanted to pop it on here to mention it in this podcast, because even though there'll be a vlog showing all of the details, again, for consistency, for posterity, I'd like to have this in the podcast as well. Now, this was on the needles. I didn't talk about the hat. The hat was on the needles for 23 days in total. So that was a quick knit. And now this sweater, which I had housed in this beautiful bag by My Creative Garage. Isn't it gorgeous? It's got Marimekko fabric on it. There's her label. So this Felix cardigan was an absolute pleasure to knit. It is a round yoke construction, but obviously knit flat because it's a cardigan. So it just flew off the needles, and there are some amazing little raglan increase details along each of the raglan increases that creates a beautiful little lace pattern. And the yarn, the needle combination all just worked so beautifully in this pattern for me, and I knit it in 7 days. I had a false start on the Monday, decided I wasn't really happy with my gauge and wanted to size down my needles once my swatch had dried. And so I really started the object on the Tuesday and I finished it on the next Monday. Gifted it to her on the Wednesday. So that was an absolutely super satisfying knit and such a joyful project. I really did enjoy it. There were a few modifications that I made there. For example, the pattern includes wrap and turns, and I decided to do German short rows. I have linked the tutorial that I used by Tash from Mostly Knitting to talk us through how to adjust wrap and turns to short rows in my project page. So have a look at that if you're keen to replace wrap and turns. I don't love the look of a wrap and turn. I much prefer a German short row, so that's why I changed that. The other modification that I made was the pickup rate along the button bands. My row gauge was a little bit off because I had sized my needles down. I knit it on the US 9 5.5mm needle, and just an absolute pleasure of a project. Not much else to say about that in this video, but watch this space. There will be a vlog coming because I had the best time recording that process as well, and I'm looking forward to reviewing that footage and sharing that with you too. Let's move on to my works in progress. I'm going to try to be quite brief because I'm conscious of how long this episode is getting, and I need to be better at recording these sit down videos for you, but sometimes it just gets a little hard to find the time to sit down and chat and prep everything and have a nice chunk of time to do this during. But I really wanted to share this one in particular. This one is almost done. It literally could be finished tonight if I sat down and focused on it. But again, distractions and squirrel moments and new cast-ons and inspiration to knit a sweater in the week for my niece. All the random reasons why we have numerous whips languishing around the place. The next project I wanted to share with you is my Alma cardigan by Susanna Kartinen of Sannes & Co. This has been on the needles for way too long. I cast this on over a year ago on the 17th of August 2024 as part of a knit along with yarn that I bought in Bendigo in 2024. And I thought I'd be finished by the time we went to Bendigo this year in July. Still not done, but it's so close. It is so very close. I finished my first steek. Can you see it? Well, you probably can't because I've got stitches here which I'm dropping off of the needle. Okay, we've caught them. Goodness. Okay, so I steeked my very first knit, and I took video footage of me steeking this project. So let me insert that here to show you my steeking process, and I'll be right back. I'm ready to steek my Alma cardigan. I'm so excited about this. I reinforced the steek using a crochet reinforcement because my sewing machine is out of action right now, and I used the tutorials in the pattern to help me to figure that out. So I think I'm ready to cut, and I thought I'd show you the process so that hopefully we can document how successful this is. Wish me luck. I can't lie, this is a little terrifying, but I don't think there's any going back. Oh gosh. First cut done. One thing I'm really scared of is that I might cut through the reinforcement. So I have to go super slowly. Gosh, was that the reinforcement? Okay, that's looking good so far. I'm not panicking, you're panicking. be easier once I get past the colourwork sections, because they're freaking me out right now because the reinforcement is actually a really similar colour to my colourwork. The hem's done. Can I stop there? Whew. Breathe. And now it's a V-neck cardigan. Oh my goodness. Now all I need to do is pick up for the button band and the collar and Kitchener up these little holes under the arms, and she'll be done. Almost a year in the making. I started this in August last year, and it's almost wearable. Almost. Very excited about the next step. I think I will pick up the button band tonight and get a start on it. Now that I'm over the stress of having dropped a bunch of stitches off of the needles, and you've seen the amazing steek, let's just talk about this amazing project. So the Alma cardigan is a colourwork cardigan with a colourwork motive on the base and on the sleeves, which are optional actually. This is optional here, but I chose to do colourwork to match the body on the sleeves as well, to use up more yarn realistically. And it's knit bottom up in the round, and then it is steeked. There were a few bits of stress for me with this project. So in terms of knitting bottom up in the round, hadn't done that before, have done that since now, and it's actually not as scary as it seems. But I was definitely a little concerned about the fit of knitting something bottom up. I was also a little bit concerned about the steeking process, but I needn't have been. The pattern gives you a lot of hints and tips and links to tutorials. Can you hear the sirens? Traffic. And you just need to take it slow. So I ended up reinforcing my steek using a crochet reinforcement, which I did in this contrasting yarn along here. And I'm pretty happy with my steek. Like, I feel like everything's nice and secure, nothing's going anywhere. And if it was to go anywhere, this yarn is quite sticky. So the picking up of the button band has further secured that steek as well. So I'm not worried about losing anything there, but I feel like I'm jumping around all over the place with this. So yeah, I'm on the button band. It's a slip stitch mosaic knitting button band, and it takes a little while to do because you're working sort of from one end all the way around to the other end, and dropping stitches off needles is also a risk. But to sort of go back to the construction, because all over the place here. So okay, you start at the bottom, you knit up to the underarms, and then you cast on the sleeves. And so you knit the sleeves again from the bottom up to the underarms. And once they're both ready, you join them to the body and you knit the yoke, decreasing the raglan. So there are raglan decreases along the front and along the back on each side. And once that's complete, then you cut it open. And so realistically, this could have been done weeks ago, because I did the cutting of this almost as soon as I returned from Bendigo, and then I cut it and I picked up the stitches, and then I got sidetracked and was knitting other things. But yeah, I've got to pick this up and I've got to finish this because I'm really excited to wear it before it gets too warm. But yeah. Now let's talk about the yarn. I don't know that I have anything left with the labels on it. Do I have the labels? For this project, I picked up a kit at Bendigo in 2024 from Louis and Lola. So Susanna had kits at her stand, and Karina was there from Louis and Lola Yarns as well. So this is the yarn that I'm using in 3 different colorways. So it's Louis and Lola. It's a merino possum DK, so it's 80% merino, 20% possum fur, 248 meters or 271 yards in 100 grams. And the main color here is called Pinot. It is such a beautiful deep burgundy color, or wine. I guess it's a wine color. And then my first contrast color is this natural, and that's what I'm knitting the button band with, these two colors. And these were the other two contrast colors that I used for the color work. So there's the natural at the bottom and the other two contrast colors. One of these is called Chai, and I can't remember which one that is. I'll see if I can find that on my project page. Hopefully I listed them on there. Color work for this one was really fun to knit, and the whole construction has been quite different and a lot of fun. I didn't do any modifications on this because obviously it's a construction I'm not super familiar with, so I didn't feel comfortable modifying this one at all. I'm really excited to be able to wear it. I think, yeah, when I showed it to you last time, which would have been very early this year, maybe last year even, I would have been on the body. So a lot of progress has been made on this, and it will be finished by the next time I record, because it just has a button band left to go. Literally could get it done in an evening if I prioritize it, when I prioritize it. And I've been holding this in my project bag by the Knitting Den shop, who's currently not making bags, but this was gifted to me a few years ago, and it's a beautiful big project bag with amazing yarn balls all over it. So that's been fun. My next work in progress is one that I shared in my Bendigo vlog, and it is in these beautiful yarns by Oyster Yarns. We have the fluff base in the colorway camisole. It's a 72% kid, 28% silk, 420 meters per 50 grams. And the fingering weight is a base called Maven, and it is in the colorway rose gold, 65% superwash merino, 20% silk, 15% yak, 480 meters to 100 grams. And these are just stunning. I was so excited to get these cast on in Bendigo with my friends, and using a pattern that one of our other friends had designed was just pure joy. This is the Sarissa shawl by Jane Bale, and I've made a bit of progress since I showed it in my Bendigo vlog, and this is how it's looking so far. It's a beautiful asymmetric triangular design, and it alternates the fingering weight with the mohair, and it has some lovely increases there, and it's just been an absolute joy to knit. So I think when I recorded my Bendigo vlog, that's where I was at. So I've made a little bit of progress. This progress keeper was purchased in Bendigo from the White Rabbit. I think that's what they were called. And yeah, I really don't have that much left of this to go, but I kind of put it down to work on the cardigan and my son's hat, and haven't had an opportunity to pick it up again in the last week or so, but I'm looking forward to picking this up again. Now this has been on the needles now for 32 days, so just over a month, but I feel like I'm more than halfway there, potentially, and I can get it done pretty quickly if I sit down and work on it, and it is a pleasure to work. I am knitting this on my, I didn't talk about the needles for the Alma cardigan. The Alma cardigan is being knit on my Chalgu red lace needles, and I've had to size down significantly on those. I probably would have popped it on the screen, but this one I'm doing on my C-knit curve needles. I think these are 3mm. My eyes aren't working. Yes, these are on my 3mm tips, and absolutely lovely to work this yarn on this needle. Really joyful, really fun. And actually I don't have that many whips to show you because I have finished so many things, but there's still a lot of plans. So the next thing I wanted to show you is my latest cast on, and I cast this one on Sunday after a very busy weekend. But I was generously gifted some yarn from Sandnes Garn in the last couple of weeks. So this bag is from Sandnes Garn, and it was part of the gift that they sent me in collaboration with Yarniecopia. Sandnes Garn sent me an amazing package of yarn and a beautiful pattern, and I have actually cast it on. I've cast on the West Singlet by Sandnes Garn, and here it is there. And they sent me the yarn that the pattern is designed in. I have chosen these beautiful skeins for my main colour. I have Mandarin Petite and Tynn Line, both in the colourways 4323. I'm sure these have a name, I just can only see a number on the label here. But they are so pretty. So these are my main skeins, and you hold 2 strands together. And then my contrast colour in the same base is in this beautiful pale pink. This is my beautiful combination. And they so generously sent this to me, and I am so excited to work with these yarns because I've never worked with either of these bases before. Now, to sort of talk about the base, the Mandarin Petite it's 100% cotton yarn in a fingering weight. There are 180 meters to 50 grams of the Petite Mandarin or Mandarin Petite. And the Tynn Line is a 53% cotton, 33% viscose, 14% linen, and there are 220 meters to 50 grams in these balls. They're so lovely. And so on Sunday, I decided to do a swatch because I've never knit a Sandnes Garn pattern before. I've never used these yarns before, and I wasn't quite sure how they would behave. But I decided to knit a gauge swatch on a needle size down from what the pattern recommends, just because I generally do need to size my needles down. And so this is my lovely gauge swatch. The pattern is written for a 3.5 millimeter and it expects a 21 stitch gauge. I knit this on a 3.25 millimeter and I got gauge. So excited. Now, one thing I'll say about the pattern is they give you a stitch gauge, but they don't give you a row gauge. So I'm on gauge for my stitches. Very happy with that. I've chosen the right needle size. This has been blocked and I'm really happy with that. But I don't know what the row gauge is supposed to be. So I have a few concerns about the depth of various parts of this project. And I also have concerns around the ease. There is no recommended ease in the pattern. We have an extra small through to 3 extra large in terms of the sizings. The measurements of the finished garment are pretty small. Now I've chosen the medium because that's what I would normally knit for myself, but the medium has a bust circumference of 90 centimeters, which indicates to me that I should be aiming for some negative ease on this design, but it doesn't specify. All it says is that all measurements are for the finished garment, which equals the personal measurement plus movement allowance. What is movement allowance? Sounds like it's ease. For a medium size, usually we're aiming for around 95, 96 centimeters, which is around the 37-inch bust. So I'm expecting a bit of negative ease here and I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to be. So this is going to be an interesting process. But I have actually cast on the medium because I was reluctant to cast on the large because I would generally never knit a large for myself. So here is the start of the project. I haven't done a lot, but here we go. I started this on Sunday night after I did my gauge swatch, and the aim is that this top bit will get sewn down, and we're currently doing some increases to shape the top part. So this, whoop, my microphone's right there, but this essentially will sit here, which again looks really narrow, but the gauge swatch did grow. So whilst I'm on gauge with my gauge swatch, this is a little bit tighter at the moment and I'm expecting it to grow once it's washed. I am enjoying knitting with this yarn though. The yarn is actually really lovely. I've knit with linen blends before and I've knit with cotton before, and I find them to be quite unforgiving in terms of your tension and the neatness of your work. But I feel like this is quite nice, even unblocked. So it's a really lovely combination. And because you're holding 2 strands together, you're holding the Mandarin Petite and the Tynn Line together. I've got 4 balls attached to this project, which Having put it in the bag was probably a bad idea. I should probably lay this out on the tray and have it organized and ready to pick up, because it's going to be a bit of a project to just untangle myself when I'm ready to knit on this again. But yeah, loving my color combination. I think it's going to be a beautiful little summer top. And yeah, speaking of summer tops, spring is around the corner here, so this is very fitting kind of project to start on, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to wear it when summer arrives. Definitely when summer arrives. Not by the time spring arrives, because that's happening in like a week's time. Crazy. How is it almost springtime? Yarniecopia will be holding some Sandnes Garn pre-orders starting in September, and they will have a full range of these summer yarns as well as other yarns. So it turns out my microphone ran out of battery. I really need to pay attention to the colour on this thing. So it's a few hours later. I've finished my work day for the day. The light may have changed, I'm not sure, but I thought I would come back and re-record the last part of this episode. So I was telling you about this amazing pre-order with Sandnes Garn and my messy balls. I'm not sure where it cut me off, but I think I was telling you about the fact that Yarniecopia will have pre-orders open for Sandnes Garn yarn starting in September. There will be some minimum amounts for the pre-order. I believe that for the summer yarns, the minimum amounts will be about 5 per base. And for the winter bases, I think it's 10. But I will pop all of the details down in the description box below with the links to the Yarniecopia website. Now again, I'm not quite sure whether I covered this before I was rudely muted by my microphone. But Yarniecopia are now shipping worldwide, I believe. So I will pop some information down in the description box with the links, and I encourage you to check out their website. It is really hard to get Sandnes Garn here in Australia, so I haven't used a lot of their bases, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity to try these out. And I encourage you to check them out too, especially for your summer garments and your spring garments coming up. These two bases have been wonderful so far to work with. They feel great in your hands, they feel great on the needles, and the fabric is really lovely as well. Mandarin Petite and Tynn Line, Lina, not sure how it's pronounced. If you know, let me know down below. But that is super exciting. It's a very exciting whip, very exciting gift. I'm so grateful to Sandnes Garn and Yarniecopia for allowing me the opportunity to try these. So my final whip is currently in this amazing little project bag that I picked up at Bendigo. And I feel like I may have forgotten to talk about this in my Bendigo vlog, but it is a beautiful little bag by Shan's Yarns. Shan had a number of these lovely citrus project bags available at her stall, and pretty much everyone in the Bendigo house that I stayed in purchased one, and we saw a lot of other people out in the show with them as well. So hugely popular little style. They fit so well in your handbag. They're such a great little travel bag. And yeah, they're just beautiful. I've been collecting these for a number of years, so I think this is my 4th or 5th one in this shape. But each year she comes out with slightly different fabrics and designs, and this one is particularly cute with the citrus theme on the denim. And I'm pretty sure they're upcycled too, so it's pretty fun that she's using old fabrics to create something new and fun. In this bag, I have my final whip, which is a really exciting one. I designed a sock pattern over a year ago. This has been a year in the making. I knit my first sample back in January or February of 2024. And then in August, I decided to knit another sample for my son's birthday and started writing it up. And actually that was, I think, July last year. And then I gifted my son his socks for his birthday and continued to stall on the writing process of that pattern. But I finally finished it once I came back from Bendigo this year, and it went to my beautiful tech editor. She did an amazing job reviewing it, and it is currently in testing. This is actually the second sample that I knit up for my son last year, and it has this beautiful knit and purl texture all through it. And it is such a potato chippy knit, and it has a lot of rest rows. It's more knits than purls, so it's a really easy knit, and it just gives a really pretty fun texture to the yarn and the sock itself, and it's very squishy and fun. It's fun to knit. This went into testing 2 weeks ago now, just over 2 weeks ago. And the day that it went into testing, I went into Yarn Trader for a knit morning or craft morning, and a number of my testers were there selecting their yarn for their test knit, which was super exciting to be part of that process with them. When I got home from craft morning, I decided that I had a bit of FOMO. Seeing all of the testers casting theirs on made me want to knit another pair as well. I pulled out the leftovers of my first sample, and I pulled out the leftovers of my second sample. So this is Craft by Bella in the colorway Ogres Are Like Onions, and it's a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And this is a Finch Yarns, I think it was a one of a kind. Can't remember exactly, but this is discontinued, so we won't be able to purchase any more of this, but this beautiful dyer is local to me and is still dyeing yarn. Not sure if she has this colorway right now, but she does do beautiful colorways regardless of this one. And I decided to cast on a third sample using all three of these. And I finished one sock yesterday. So this one was finished yesterday. I could pop it on the sock blocker. That might be a nicer idea, but I can't. They're buried under all of my piles of things. So this one is the first finished one. And then last night I started the second one. And so my aim is to finish this week. The pattern is scheduled to be released this Sunday. Most of my testers have finished their tests. I have received amazing feedback from them. It seems to be quite an enjoyable knit, not just for me, but for them as well. It's very potato chippy, it's very squishy. It's been so much fun to be part of this or to create this and have these amazing testers help me out with my first pattern. And so I'm actually knitting this with leftovers, which means I'm playing a little bit of yarn chicken because you can see I don't have much yarn left there. And so I made my leg a little bit shorter than the pattern states, but I think it's still a fine length. And this is the fun thing, that you can always adjust it. If the pattern says do X amount of rounds, you can choose to do less or more with this particular one because it is very customizable. I think the length is still fine. I do like a longer leg, but this is still actually quite a nice length for me. I'm hoping to finish these this week. I know I said other things in my original recording of this and I can't remember what else I said. I feel like I'm repeating myself right now. The joys of having a microphone stop working for you. But these are the Seroto socks, inspired by a modified basket weave texture. Seroto comes from Sesotho, a Northern African language where it means basket. And a fun fact, one of my testers also thought of serotonin, the feel-good chemical. So it's basket weave plus happy vibes in one pair of socks. This is my final whip for the episode, and because this pattern is getting released this Sunday, the 24th of August, and I'm hoping to have this episode out around that time as well, I will be offering a coupon code for people watching this podcast, and I'll pop it on the screen. I need to learn how to create those, but it'll be a Ravelry code and it'll give you a discount on purchasing this pattern for the first week of its release. So the coupon code will be valid until the 31st of August, a week from when I release this pattern. And that's super exciting. It's my first pattern and it's been such a joy and a pleasure to run the test knit and to get the feedback, and I'm very excited to finally get this out in the world because it's been a long time in the making. I might pop a couple of images of some of my testers' projects here because it's been so fun to see them choose their different yarns and knit up their beautiful samples. So I will pop up some images here and I hope you enjoy those as well. I think that was the last of the whips. So now I have a couple of plans I wanted to share with you because I'm planning to cast these on imminently. The yarn for the first plan is being held in this beautiful PetiteKnit project bag. It has beautiful farm scenes on here, including some chickens right there, some cows, sheep. It's just a very joyful project bag. And in here I have some yarn to start something fun for my son. It's his birthday on Sunday and there's something else I wanted to make him apart from the hat. He'll be getting other gifts too, obviously. It's a pretty big birthday, but I was very keen to make him a couple of things anyway. So these are the two yarns that I've purchased for this project. This is an acrylic from Spotlight. It is an 8-ply acrylic and there are 270 meters per 100 grams in this green, and it is the color Army Green. And then the white one down below is a 50% acrylic, 50% wool blend, also from Spotlight. This one is, I think, a bulky weight. It is 240 meters per 150 grams, so maybe not bulky, maybe Aran. And I also picked up these buttons. Don't expect that anyone will know what I'm planning for this, so I am looking forward to showing you because it's something a little bit different and a little bit fun, but I'm planning to knit Baby Yoda by Kim Konen with these yarns. Hopefully that is not too blown out for you. But I think these colours are just perfect and I'm so excited to get this started and knit up for him, and hopefully it's not one of those fails. I'm hoping I can get it to look as cute as the sample is. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, so if you have anyone in your life who loves Star Wars, highly recommend checking this out. Obviously I can't speak to the pattern yet, I haven't knit it. I'm hoping it's intuitive, but it looks pretty simple. And because it's a toy, I don't need to block this, so I'm hoping to knit this up over the next couple of evenings and have it ready for him for Sunday. My second plan is also in a PetiteKnit project bag. This one I picked up when I met her last year in Melbourne, and it's a beautiful, colourful bag. It's so gorgeous. And in here I have a couple of beautiful yarns. This is my Creative Garage in the colourway Tiffany Blue that I picked up at Bendigo or just after Bendigo last year. This is 100% fine superwash merino, 400 meters is, or 438 yards is 100 grams. It's my Creative Garage. Vanessa is super talented and was very patient with me when I was ordering these and couldn't decide whether I wanted one or two. But I will be pairing these with these two beautiful yarns from Ash and Eve Designs. This is the colorway Infallible. It is a color from the Fade Mystery Club. It was a mystery club that Susan ran, I think, in 2024. And I picked this up during Fibre Feast last year. I picked these up at one yarn festival and I picked these up at another. And I'm planning to combine them into the EXP sweater by Susanna Kartinen or Sanna & Co. And I'm trying to decide if that should be the background and foreground or if I should do it that way. I need to do some swatching first and then make a decision. This cast on is imminent. My friend Kath from Mindful Melbourne Maker and I have decided to cast this on. She bought a kit when we were at Bendigo this year, and I've had this in stash for over a year now. So we're keen to get these cast on as soon as possible. So that is happening soon too. Hopefully I will get a chance to swatch for this week. There are other plans too, but those are the ones that are going to have something done very soon. And now the final thing that I wanted to share with you is an amazing gift that I received in the mail in the last couple of weeks. The lovely Marina from Strawberry Patches reached out to me and offered to send me a gift. And how could I refuse? So she sent me this beautiful yarn. This is the Chocolate Strawberry Shortcake colorway. on the Zebra DK base, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and it's a zebra stripe with beautiful browns and pinks. It's a DK weight sock yarn, so this will be cast on very soon. Thank you so much, Marina. I absolutely adore it. And because she is so amazing, she's also actually sent me a second skein to give away on this episode. So this is up for grabs, and it is stunning. This is called Rhubarb Woolfest 2005. It's a limited edition colourway from the Woolfest Festival in New Zealand. The base is a neon 8-ply DK. It's 85% superwash merino, 15% neon Donegal neps, and the neps glow in the dark under UV lights. How phenomenal is that? How much fun is that? Did you see the neps? They're all hypercolour. Am I showing my age there? That's a very 90s term. I think it was 90s. Very bright neon joy there. Any comment with the word strawberry will go in the running to win this beautiful skein of yarn, and I will draw it out before I record the next episode, which will probably, my aim is to do it within the month. I'm so excited to gift this to one of you. It is so pretty. She's done such a great job. And because Marina is such a generous person as well, she's actually given us a coupon code to spend in her shop. Marina's shop, Strawberry Patches, is located in New Zealand, and she has recently been able to organise shipping to Australia from her shop. So she will ship to Australia and New Zealand, obviously. I can't remember what it is right now, but I will pop it on the screen. And if you use that code, you will get a discount and try out some of her amazing yarn. She dyes yarn. She also dyes fibre for spinning. I don't spin. There's not enough hours in the day for all the hobbies. But for the spinners out there, and obviously for the knitters and the crocheters, there's some beautiful yarns to choose from there as well. I think that brings me to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure and a joy to spend some time with you. I hope you've got lots of knitting or crocheting done while we've been chatting today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Happy knitting, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.